All right, welcome to Sass Bites. This is episode 58. We're going to continue on our we'll drive down the road of building this site. We've been working up with Grunt for the last while, and my lower third just disappeared. Incredible. All right, this is Sass Bites, your weekly bite of Sass during lunch break. And of course, 5 minutes before I started this, my mouse decided to die. So I got to use a different mouse that's clicky and weird. So we're going to have fun with it. But today we're going to continue down the path of building the site up. We've kind of gotten to the point where Grunt is mostly locked into place. I'm finding as I build this, I'm constantly tweaking little things to Grunt. I pushed up a couple of this last week just to get some things in place. Got some watchers set up, so things are a little bit better. But we're going to start from there, and we're going to add in some components in our style guide and just kind of get that ball rolling, kind of talk about what that's going to look like. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump into this because my intro is horrible today. So there we go. So as always, we're going to start from scratch, which is kind of fun because we've got this Git project. We're just going to be able to pull it down and start running. Kind of shows the power of this build system, that I can start up this relatively complex build system without having to do a bunch of stuff. I just have to pull it down and run the modules. So we're going to go ahead and git pull on this. I made sure to not pull, clone. Going to git clone on this. I made a, oh my gosh, really? Git clone. There we go. Made that mistake before. So we're going to pull down a new set of code right from the Git repo. And just like always, we're going to do an npm install, grab all of our node packages. And I made a quick tweak to the version number of my Bower, I can't remember the exact name of it. I wrote it here, of the Bower task. For some reason, the previous version was doing what I wanted, but the new version was not. I haven't had a chance really to completely debug it, so I just reverted for the moment. And the nice thing is I just can update the npm file. So actually we can see that real quick. This commit, all I did is drop the Bower task from 4 to 3, and when I do my npm install, it automatically pulls down 3 instead, which I believe is going to work for us. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and do Grunt, and it's going to go and install all of our gems, install all of our Bower modules, and make sure everything is up to date. And that's going to compile our Sass, all that crazy stuff. Compile Sass, run Hologram, spin up a server, open that up, live reload, all that kind of good stuff. So let's get that going. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So we've got our page that's serving up our index. And if we go to style guide, you can see we've got our style guide. So we're ready to go. So a couple things I need to do. The first one being I need to, this was actually an omission from last time. There always are all these little omissions here and there. I need to be able to get all the JavaScript that I pull in from my Bower components into my site and into my style guide. Because right now they're just sitting in Bower components. And I could do hard links to them, include this one, include that one, include that one. But I really don't want to do that. I don't want to have to go into Hologram or go into my build, my index file, and point each one, because I might add more to it. I might add another, bring in some other library, or fit text, or fit vids, or really anything you pull into there. You're going to need to add all that JavaScript. So instead of doing that, I'm going to use a tool called Bower Concat. It's another npm module. So let's go ahead and install that. npm install grunt Bower Concat and -- save dev. So we're going to say this is a developer dependency as well. And that's going to pull that in, add it to our package.json, and we're going to have that ready to be used. So let's go ahead and go into our grunt file. Let's get this up just a little bit so you can see plenty. You can see I've got my watcher in here for Hologram now. That was an addition from brief 4. So what I'm going to do is add this grunt task down here. Let's go ahead and put it after Bower just for organizational sake. So this task, that's going to pull the Bower stuff in, and then concat is going to concat them all into a single file. So there's that. And let's go ahead and add Bower concat down here as a task. Of course, I want that to be after Bower runs. Otherwise, there's nothing to concat. And then we'll do our settings. which for this are relatively simple. And we'll do it right after Bower just for organizational sake. And what we're going to do is we're going to say our destination is our build folder / JavaScript / Bower.js. This was a convention that they suggested with the underscore. Doesn't matter, just a character. I am going to exclude the JavaScript from Cortana, which is, remember, our theme for Hologram, which we can find in our lib folder right here. We don't want any of the JavaScript from there because that's going directly into our Hologram setup. So we don't actually need to include that with Bower concat. So with that in place, hopefully that's going to work. All right. So what this is going to do now, and let's just let's check, see if we got it all right. We should see Bower concat all, and it might not have. I thought I got this working right. I apparently did not. Okay, live debugging, it's not gonna work today. The other way you can go about fixing this is I'm cleaning my Bower directory. I think what's happening is when it runs Bower concat, it's looking into my Bower directory, which I'm removing because I'm moving everything in a lib folder. So removing this basically means that it keeps that Bower folder in there, and that should work fine. I swear I just tested that like 10 minutes ago and it worked. But as you know, oh well. So there you can see right here, file, it builds the JavaScript Bower, boom, boom, boom. It means I've got a little duplication here. I've got my Bower components and my library because it copies it over and then it's supposed to delete it. They're just compiled assets. They're just pulled in directories. So they're not going to really cause any conflict. Hopefully I can find something that works better for that in the future and update the repo. That's how it goes. So with that done, we need to take that JavaScript file and we need to add it a couple places. We need to add it into our index file because that's going to need it too. We'll put it down at the bottom because you don't want that stuff blocking. So that, and then we also want to make sure that it gets added into our style guide. So when that runs, that it's got that included as well. So for that, we're going to go back into Hologram and our YAML file. Great, it's not closing my thing. All right, my YAML file, I'm going to add this down in JavaScript down here. So it's going to include our Bower, our JS, Bower.js. So it goes up a folder and over because that's where the relative path from where we're having that. So and my keyboard decided to be weird. As I told you, I had mouse issues. Apparently, I'm going to have keyboard issues today, too. Cap locks. Who needs cap locks? So, so that should get us going. And we'll see how far that's going to go before it breaks. So that's going to bring all of our JavaScript into it. And that's going to get us set up because we're actually going to use that JavaScript as we start to fill out some Sass folders. So speaking of Sass folders, I went ahead and populated the Sass folder with the 4 different folders that I typically use inside of a project. Global styles. I'm going to go in import order. Global styles, which hold all of our non-printing styles, so all of our variables and mixins and extends and functions and basically anything that you can import the entire folder and absolutely nothing shows up. Then we have base. Which is basically everything that's not an individual component. So your regions, your pages, and your backgrounds, and maybe your base elements, and like everything that's not an individual unit, something that's more like a larger wash. And then we break it up into components, which is each of the individual pieces on the page, as well as layouts for those pages, or layout. Sometimes you'll have like layout containers that you put stuff into. Those can go there as well. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a component and we're going to get this into our style guide and see what that kind of looks like in the process for doing that. So I'm going to create a new component and I'm going to call it's going to be a blog teaser. And for the most part, I almost always put things in because you might only ever have a single file in there. Our underscore blog teaser. Like that might be the only file that's ever in there. But you might add more, which we're finding with our current project. We're actually putting quite a bit of stuff in there. And also with we're using Sass globbing. So this is all just going to get imported automatically. We don't have to worry about the fact it's in a folder or something like that. So this makes life a little bit simpler. And I'll show those imports in a little bit. I realized I kind of skipped over that as that was something that we added. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add, let's see, where does this end and start? There it goes. All right, so let's add in our blog teaser code. And seriously, interesting. Normally I have a shortcut to close this thing, and my keyboard's being weird. So moving on. Let's go ahead and fire up our style guide again so we can see how this stuff looks as it changes. All right, so if you go in here, we can see our blog teaser. And sweet. All right, so we're off to the races. We're started already. So what's happening on the right here is that we're starting, well, for one, this is just our Sass. I don't really have much in here besides just the, the image being 100% width and height auto. But I'll put more in there as time kind of goes. But up top, what we're doing is we're doing our documentation. And the great thing about Hologram that I love and really, this is why I tell people that to use it and why I like it, is it puts your documentation right with the rest of your styles. So this means that we've got our title. We can break things up into categories. So you can see we have a component category, and inside of it we have blog teasers. So we can have, obviously lots of components in there. And then allows you to put HTML examples in. So just straight up HTML you can place right into it. And the great thing is that HTML gets rendered onto the page with those styles. You can see 100% width right there. But also gets placed right down below it. So you can actually see what that HTML is. You can copy and paste that and implement master, put that in your page or something like that. So it's right there to be able to see. So it also, this entire block is Markdown. So I can put a title in here or some extra text. Actually, let me go ahead and do that because there's a little note in here I want to include. And it's this. I've got this data EQ PTS is equal to small, and I want a little explanation in there as to what that is and how it's used. So as you can see, it's going to compile and run, live reload. It's all good stuff. So we can actually put a little extra text in there, and you can do, you can do H1 title, and this is a subtitle and tertiary, well, 3 of them. So it's your standard Markdown. So you can do all your titles and your headers. You can do links. If you want to link to other pages, you can do tables. We do like tables with colors. It's Markdown. So you can do all sorts of stuff in the documentation here. It doesn't have to just be HTML examples. So it's the great thing about this is you can document to your heart's content. Whether it's something small, like, what are the different states? What are the different features of this? Like, does it have a couple different modes, like a dark theme and a light theme, and like how do you invoke those and those kind of things? So that's real nice. The other advantage is now I've got markup right here that I can actually style against. So if I want to change the color of my title to blue, then I can I know where that title is. I know where it's showing up, and when I do that, then I get a blue title, which is really ugly. Oh well. So the other thing that I've got going on here, just to demonstrate this data EQ PTS, yellow is not much better. All right, moving on. We're using something called component media queries. EQJS, a great little JavaScript plugin made by Snugug, aka Sam Richard, is what it does, and I can show this real quick, is if it's working. Why would it not be working? Is that always how it goes? Build, I've got JS, I've got Bower. It looks like it's in here. Let's see. Let's see if it's actually working. So what it's going to do, yeah, EQ small. Oh, I remember. Oh, I don't have my layout done. All right, so what we need to do, I swear I wrote all this down. I'm going to do a layout partial in here as well. But we've got our blog teaser, and then we also have a layout teaser, or a layout partial. And this will be better. There you can see I'm using the data EQ state of small. So what EQJS does is allows you to put in these basically like little media queries, little min-width media queries. And what they do is when they fire, they're going to actually create a, they're going to evaluate the component. see how big it is, and see which of those media query states actually, or element query states, is true. In this case, we just have one. We just have this small. So you can see it's just, we just have 1 point of small. So if it's larger than 500, it's small, which I guess I could maybe call that large. Here, let's do that. Large. Let's change this to large. That I guess is kind of the larger one. So the idea being that these media queries, these spans, if you aren't familiar with this, we're using SUSY here, which I did some episodes on. These SUSY spans only kick in if that EQ state is equal to large. And I guess I can update that there with my documentation too. Hey, look, all in the same place. It's really great. So what that means is that class only kicks on when it's over that certain size. So when it's over 500 pixels, it's laid out sideways. And when it's not, it's like that. So you might be asking, well, you can just do that with a media query. Well, yes, you can, but there's no guarantee that this component is going to be 100% width of the page. The advantage here is we can put this component into a small sidebar and it's going to fit properly. We can put it into a larger area and it's going to fit properly. And we'll see this when we start putting all these pieces together is you can actually use these element queries to make your elements fit properly, regardless of what size of a column you put them into. So speaking of columns, we're going to do one more thing since we're here. We're using SUSY, but I really haven't set SUSY up. So what we want to do is we want to put in some variables. And we'll call this SUSY variables. Again, we're just globbing everything in right now. So the names of things really don't matter. It's just going to pull all the files in and compile them. It's going to do it alphabetically, though, so that does matter. But you can just toss them in any way you want. So this is going to go in, and I think since it's a new file, sometimes the new files it doesn't like to pick up on. Let's see if it's going to watch it or not. Looks like not. All right, so let me go ahead and kick this out. Sometimes a watcher doesn't like to see new files. It's odd because it worked for the other one. Oh well. There we go. So you can see it right now. So what this allows us to do is change our SUSY's settings. We're doing 12 columns. I can't really drop this lower, otherwise it's going to kind of bork because I'm expecting it to be 12. I could change to 16 columns, and you can see our layout's going to change quite dramatically. Quite dramatically, not really. It's the last ones. No. Well, we can change our gutter. We can do really big gutters. So our gutters are going to be the same size as the actual columns themselves. We can change our math to fluid versus fixed. Output is currently float. We can do isolation. We can also do gutters before or after. So right now, the gutters come after each element. We can do it before each element if we want to as well. So that gets us in there. So the great thing about Hologram, this is kind of what I want to get to today, was you can see we can go into, without even touching a CMS, we can put our markup, we can mock our markup up inside of our partial. We can write all of the styles we want for it. And then we can see those rendered inside of our style guide, and quickly too. It's all auto compiling and auto reloaded, and we can test out all of our theories here, get exactly the way we want, and then we can pass off markup that is the implementing markup. Like, this is the markup we need you to implement. Like, you can add, if there's some extra hook or class or like an extra div you got to wrap around something because, well, you're Drupal, no big deal as long as the markup still ends up like this. We've tied everything to class names. So as long as the class names match up, we should be good to go. And this gives them something to work with. And for backend developers, if you talk to them, they love this. They don't have to do any guessing work. They don't have to guess, like, do you want a header tag wrapped around these things or not? They've got the markup that's ready to go. So that's basically how far we're getting here today. I might jump ahead and get a bunch more components put in, because really it's just kind of repeat this process over and over and over again and get those components in. We'll probably also talk about styling processes with pulling in extends and using mixins and those kind of things. But I'm kind of intentionally keeping this really simple, because these are just the basic ideas and how you use these pieces together. So again, we have our grunt file, which is using hologram set up here. And really all we need to do is point to the config, and our config's taking care of everything. The hologram config, look at that one more time. It's basically just saying, look at our Sass, look for any of those document blocks, and then spit out a style guide right here. Again, we're using Cortana. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Our README file, our README markdown right here is our homepage. And then we're including some styles, and we're ready to go. So that's basically it. That gets us a style guide that's up and running, allows us to start mocking up all of our components, seeing how those are going to look, trying them out at different sizes, using element queries for that kind of thing. It's a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and call this done, because I think I'm just about where I want. Oh, except for that blue. I don't want that. That's pretty horrible. So let's check our Git status. We've got, I do need to add that to my Git ignore. There we go. Let's go ahead and make sure we're not putting our Bower components in here. There we go. Update our grunt file, update git ignore, update our config, our index file, package.json. We're adding a blog teaser and adding SUSE variables. I think we're good to go. All right, let's commit it. All right, and this is week 4, style guide. Oh, can't put a hash. You can't put a exclamation mark in these. I keep trying, and it just never works. So we're gonna push that up. So if you want to check this out, you can go up there as well. I'll do a git tag if you want to pull just this code down specifically. But that's basically it. We've got our Bower, it was a Bower concat, whatever it was called, up here. Yeah, got our Bower concat installed. That's going to pull together all of our JavaScript. We set all that up so everyone's ingesting that JavaScript, and then we've set up some hologram documentation and shown how that moves right over into this page that we can then edit and style and make it look the way we want before it gets implemented. So that's what we're currently doing, and currently looking to basically take this exact process and build it to large scale. So hopefully this will work for your processes as well. And if you have other questions, feel free to give me a holler. We're still kind of working through a lot of these tools as well. So hope you found it useful, and we will see you again next week.